Well, the Mauritian economy has held up against the persistent global economic turbulence. Although its growth momentum has eased, however, on the ground qualification mismatch with industry demand and lack of employability skills are adversely impacting job prospects for many young Mauritians. Now, for more on this, I'm joined by Roland Dubios, who's the Senior Advisor at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development. Ronald, thank you so much for your time. When we look at unemployment, this is not unique to Mauritius, but we are still seeing Mauritius employing foreigners. Can you explain this to us?
Well, evidently, I would like to point out that this is a problem. In fact, we have unemployment rate on one side. In fact, it is about 8.2% unemployment rate. But at the same time, in parallel, we have foreign workers working in Mauritius. Well, we would have wished evidently to replace all the foreign workers by Mauritians. But unfortunately, we can't do that because Mauritians don't want to work in mainly the two sectors, textiles, where we have about 70% of the foreign laborers working, and construction sector. This is a major issue. Mauritians don't want to work in these two sectors. So this is why we need to rely on foreign workers because we have to be productive, we have to compete in the world market.
So Roland, how are you addressing this issue?
Let me say that youth, most particularly youth unemployment, is a major issue, around the world, because if you look at the ILO report of 2013, it is stated that some 74 million youth are unemployed. And if you look at countries like Spain, Greece, Italy, France, even the Eurozone, the youth unemployment rate is over 24%. Now here in Mauritius, it's about 24%. And we want everybody, evidently, to work and participate in the economic development of Mauritius. So this is why the government in the budget 2013 came up with a youth employment program. Now, this program, evidently, helps to place youth in companies for about a year, and government co-finance, because we give these youth a stipend. Evidently, it depends on whether the youth is a graduate or non-graduate. The stipend will vary, and government will refund companies 50% of the stipend. At the same time, if the company feels that there is any additional training to be given to the youth so that the youth becomes more productive, more competitive, and performs more, again, the government will contribute 50% of the training costs. But evidently, there are certain criteria. The training will have to be recognized by the Mauritius Qualifications Authority, and evidently, there are ceilings on the refund, both for stipend and also for the training costs that are incurred.
Roland, it sounds like a very exciting program that you have there, but how effective is this? How many unemployed young Mauritians have been able to find jobs through this? Well,
let me say that this particular program was launched about a year ago by the Vice Prime Minister and Minister of Finance and Economic Development. Since then, as at now, I can tell you, we have some 12,000 youth who are registered with the YEP. We've got a database that we've developed, and the youth register on that database. So we have some 12,000 at the moment. And in parallel, employers also do register on that same database. Now, the youth evidently will spell out the profiles that they possess in terms of age, qualifications, the types of work that they can do. And in parallel, on the other hand, employers also will spell out their requirements. And we have a sort of secretariat that will filter the youth with respect to the conditions, to the specifications required by the employers. And the secretariat will send a list of youth to the employers. Now they will interview, they will decide, and once they have selected the youth, they sign an agreement with us. And as from there, evidently, they can recruit the youth. I will point out that so far, we have placed 5,000 youth already during the past 1 year. This is about 40% of those who have registered with the YEP. So it is working. Why is it working? Because we have a skills working group, which is a joint public-private committee and I co-chair that committee with the Director of Joint Economic Council.
Roland, I do see that we are looking at public and private partnerships working together there. So it does sound like you are making headway when it comes to that. But let's talk about the government's target as to how much are they looking at decreasing the level of unemployment. What's the target?
Well, I would say, first of all, that last year we had a target to place 4,000 youth. I'm talking about youth in companies, and we had exceeded that number. And this year, again, 2014, we are planning to place some 4,000 youth in companies again. So, which means that if you take all these figures together, now we are looking at reducing the unemployment youth rate from the 24% that it has been. We are planning to have it at about 19%. Now, but this is not the only program on which we're working. We are working on different programs again. For instance, we've seen that there is a dichotomy between the graduates leaving the tertiary institutions, university, for instance. The graduates are not employable. They don't have the qualifications which are being asked by industry. So there is a sort of difference. They don't talk to each other. So what the government has decided...
Roland, unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it at that for today. Thank you so much for giving us an update as to what the Mauritian economy or government is doing in order to address the unemployment issue.